You can love your life and still feel so lost in it. No one really talks about the version of yourself that disappears a little when you become everything for everybody else. And I think, how I take that is I have become the unit in my family that I'm the scheduler. I'm the information holder. I am the calendar management individual. I am the person that has to oversee it all and then dictate to each individual what needs to be done. Whether it's my husband and telling him, hey, Pat, you got ball practice tonight. Did you see that on your calendar? Did you get into Game Changer? Did you do the things? Or, okay, Michael's got therapies today. He needs to be picked up at this time. Or, okay, Mackenzie's going to daycare. I got to get these ones on the bus first, and then I got to drive her and then come back and then, hop online and start working and doing the stuff. So, you have that aspect of it, right? You have your mom jobs, I say. Nobody told me that I was going to have to plan dinner for the rest of my life, and it's probably the least favorite activity I have as a parent. And you just become this chef or, the laundry person or, whatever it is. And your little bit of a time, pieces are disappearing, that used to be prominent, in your life. Whether it's myself, for example, I consider myself a pretty creative person. I've always loved photography and drawing and writing and having those outlets as a person. And I don't do that anymore because there's just no time. And so that piece of me, kind of went away. But now I'm finding you need to make the changes and make the time. And it's easier said than done, right? Like everybody has everything and all of this stuff going on. But I think it is really important that you can get back to yourself of what your inner self is. And it's okay that it changes over time because of course it's going to. Everybody changes over time, but that you hold on to the things that made you you and make you the person that you are. I think that's so important. My identity shift with kids has been unique. I find myself more angry nowadays. And it's not that my kids are horrible or anything like that, but I get so overstimulated and so frustrated so easily. Like my house on a regular basis, I would love to have whatever those scales are that they measure like sound with, to know, because I genuinely feel like we're on like a whole nother decimal system when it comes to sound when all of us are in the same room at the same time. Prime example is when my kids come home from school. So there is like a tiered effect of all of us getting home. And I myself am home majority of the time because I work from home. And, Mackenzie is on off with me throughout the week. And my mother, God bless her heart, we're together and she lives with us and she is the most massive big help in our lives when it comes to the kids and helping out around the house. But so we have that base level, right? We're the base level. We're the three that are kind of home. Then you start to tier in the older boys. So you have Patrick and William who are pretty much getting home around the same time. And it's like, okay, I'm going to pick up William and then I sit at the bus stop and I wait for Patrick. And then first round is back home. Now you have three chaotic children that are just loud by nature. Mackenzie hasn't seen her older brothers all day, so she's screaming and running through the house. And Patrick and William are matching the energy, and it's loud, and it's loud. And then we're getting dinner started, and we're trying to, okay, do you have homework? Do you have homework? Okay, we got practice tonight. Like, get your stuff out. Come on, let's do this. Then you sprinkle in Pat and Michael coming home because Pat's finishing up work and he's stopping to get him at the therapy center and he's bringing him home. And majority of the time, Michael is pretty spent by that point in time. He has worked hard all day. He's been at school, then he's gone from school to therapies, and now he's coming home. And he's coming home to a chaotic situation, which is loud, which he doesn't love. He's like me in that manner. Like he gets overstimulated. So then he starts kind of screeching and screaming because he's excited, but he's also annoyed. And so everybody is playing off of each other at that point then. And it's just, again, I get overstimulated and I get angry. And then I start, into my kind of, okay, that's enough. Everybody, calm down, quiet. You're setting him off. You're setting her off. Everybody just, stop it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I struggle with because I'm not mad at any of them. I'm just overstimulated. And it's like the TV's on or music's playing or something's happening. And it's just like, I need that minute to just walk away into a quiet place and just like take a breath and just really center myself and come back because I get annoyed that I get so annoyed all the time. But that's just a part of it. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think a lot of people get overstimulated easily. And I think a lot of people go through that same changes. And my husband, Pat, handles it so much better than I do. I'm a very emotional person. I'm a very kind of, I overtalk and I spill my guts and I wear my heart on my sleeve and I overanalyze everything. And Pat is my calm, center. He can navigate through all of this noise very calmly and coolly. And I'm so grateful. And I think that's why we are such a good fit for each other because we are exact opposites in so many ways, but it's a good thing that we're exact opposites because we complement each other in our lives so much like that. And that is a complexity of, our marriage, I think, because I think I know the biggest thing that both of us get kind of told and asked is, I don't know how you do this. Oh, you are such an amazing person for being able to handle this, with 4 kids and with Michael having special needs. And I just don't know how you get through it. And honestly, like my response majority of the time is, I don't know how I get through it either. Because there's a complexity to it. Because there is there is this marriage and life that I thought Pat and I were going to have. And that is not necessarily what we're living now. And not that it's bad, because it's not. It's just different. And, I think when we started to have our kids and we knew we wanted to have, a lot of kids, and we knew it wasn't going to be easy, right? Like first time parent, you think like, oh, I can kind of do this. And then you're like, oh, wait, I don't know if I can do this. Like, what is this? Nobody told me about this. Like, what is this? Then you have your second and you kind of have like an idea, like you've got the preview of what parenting is. And then you throw another one in and it kind of throws you for a little bit of a loop, but then you find your footing and you start to figure out stuff. And then we're like, we could totally do a third. Like we got this. Like we can do this. And when Michael came, Michael was very typical developing up until about 18 months. And that's when everything started to happen with him. And it was like, he started to develop these, what we called them tics because we didn't know what they were. And it was just like, he'd drop his head and we're like, oh, that's so weird. Like, why is he doing that? Like, what is that? And we could never really explain it fully. And then when we went to the pediatrician and we mentioned it and they're like, oh yeah, sometimes kids do quirky stuff, And my mom was just like, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is more. And, circling back to, the marriage complexities, Pat knows that I overthink stuff. And I just wouldn't drop it. And I just said, I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, everybody's telling me that it's okay, but I swear this is something. And it was. And finally, you know, I called the pediatrician. I said, listen, this is not nothing. Like, this is something. And so they gave us a consult for neurology at Children's. And when we went to that appointment, I had at that point in time been able to catch some videos of him doing it. And then he did it in the room with the neurologist. And it was just like, you know, the neurologist said, we're going to admit he has to be admitted right now. He's having seizures. And, you know, Pat and I both looked at each other like, what do you mean? Like, okay, like, is he okay? And it started this whole journey, but it was, you know, the complexity of our marriage at that point was this: I'm telling you something. And it's not that he wasn't believing me. It was just he wasn't fully understanding what I wanted him to at that point. And I think that that was our first like communication piece between us that has made our marriage better now, because when I needed to get better at being more, I don't want to say stern, but I had to get better with him at being like, listen, this is something, I know it is, and I need you to support me in it, and I need you to be there with me in it. And ultimately he was, but it could have been done better. Could have been done better. And then, you know, the complexities kind of grew and continued, because then, okay, now we have this child that is admitted to the hospital, and it was 2 weeks off the bat. Michael was in the hospital at Children's at about 18 months old. And we had other kids at home, and we had a wonderful, you know, support system with my mother, thank God. And we were able to be there with Michael and kind of go back and forth and do everything that we could. And then we got sent home. But then things kind of came back, like the meds. It's a medical resistant kind of seizures, these atonic drop seizures that he has. So then we spent another, you know, 2 weeks in the hospital trying to figure out and manage. And then, you know, it was just this, okay, well, this is our life now, and he has epilepsy, and, you know, he needs medications. Well, then that also turned into, you know, a diagnosis of autism and nonverbal and communication and all of these pieces. And all during this time and navigating this, of course, Pat and I love each other, and he's my husband and I'm his wife, and we're going to get through this together. But it also offered, you know, this is a complex process for us, because we had to work through the communication pieces. I just expected him to know stuff, and he just expected me to tell him. And we've learned that we can't expect that. That's not an expectation that we should realistically have. We have to be completely open and honest with each other. And sometimes there's annoyances, and sometimes there's frustrations, but we work through it, and we work through that, you know, big love aspect of it. You have this, I personally have this quiet guilt almost of wanting more from my marriage and my life as a mother, because I want the perfection. I want all of the things. I get caught up in what others have, and I get into this, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's just not a fit for us. And I finally have gotten to a space in my life where I can really accept that I can finally be happy for the people on Facebook and my Instagram feed when they're, you know, kind of jet setting around the world, or if they're, you know, doing all of these crazy fun things and going to, going down to the NFL draft and experiencing all this stuff. That was never going to be something that we'd be able to do. And that's okay. And I finally have gotten to that point of, it's not that I never want more, but it's I accept what our more is, because our more is different than what other people's more is. You know, when you're in this journey of parenting and life and marriage, you know, people say you kind of like lose time and space and, things of yourself. But although I do agree with that to a certain level, I think you also gain so much. I've looked at everything that I've gained in my journey thus far. I've gained patience, I've gained appreciation, I've gained faith, my faith in God and love for my, you know, family and everything has just been something that has been an incredibly important part of this journey for me. Um, I've gained honestly laughter. I've gained a lot of, you know, comedic relief in our lives because sometimes you just need to laugh at stuff because there's really nothing else that you can do in those moments. And it's very cathartic to sit there with your spouse and just laugh about your day because it was so crazy. Kids say the darndest things. My kids, the stuff that comes out of my kids' mouths are comic gold. Like I feel like sometimes we should just have like a reality show so that those things get caught on camera because they are hilarious. Um, you know, I think because you feel these different emotions, it it makes me feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, I'm being ungrateful. I should be grateful for all this stuff that I have, but I'm not ungrateful. I just am, going through it differently. Um, I miss parts of myself that I didn't even know that I had to get back in those creative pieces. And this podcast, this is my creative piece now, which I'm so excited to get back. And I'm just really going to enjoy this process. And I hope that this can resonate with you and that you will continue to join me on this journey.